All right, guys, I got to give you updates about what's going on with the ICE Gestapo thugs, and it's not good. It is not good. In fact, there's been a bunch of lies that have happened recently because of Stephen Miller, because of Donald Trump. They did a head fake. Now, I warned you at the time that it was a head fake. Now it has been validated to indeed be a head fake, so I'll get to that in a little bit, but first let me start with this. Trump administration seeks to expedite removal of 5-year-old Minnesota boy. So, of course, we're talking about Liam here. Liam with his cute hat. His picture went viral on social media when ICE Gestapo thugs kidnapped him, wearing that hat with his little backpack on. Turns out, when he was in ICE custody, of course, he was fed toxic, moldy food with worms in it. He got sick. He was running a fever. Eventually, there was a court order which a judge demanded that Liam be released, so he was released. But even after Liam was released, you now have the Trump regime trying to fast-track deportation of Liam. Let me repeat that. This 5-year-old who awakened the conscience of a nation, already went through hell, and you would think they'd back away from the ledge. Wrong. Now they're trying to fast-track Liam's deportation. Absolutely disgusting. Does Liam look like a criminal to you? Does Liam look like he's violent to you? Does Liam look like he's a problem for anybody to you? No, of course he's not. These people are absolutely sick and depraved. That's what they are. All right, let me give you some more here. Federal agents abducted Eustaquio Orozco Verduzco, an organizer known in Minnesota for fighting wage theft and labor trafficking. His family is now going public amid growing calls for his release. Quote, "All we care about is having him back with us." Okay. Now, as Adam Johnson points out, how ICE is an arm of capital, example number 7,893, a man who's lived in the U.S. for 20 years was targeted because he was a labor organizer who fought, among other injustices, against wage theft. He had helped workers, documented and not documented, recover $6 million, and now he's in a cage in New Mexico. So yet again, let me reiterate, what they're doing here has nothing to do with immigration. Nothing at all. You think they're building 23 concentration camps to just round up criminal immigrants? No. They're building those concentration camps to round up dissidents, to round up everybody who's anti-MAGA, everybody who makes a stink about stuff. Okay? That's what they're doing. And the main reason they went after this guy is because he's a labor organizer. So they're working on behalf of the Epstein class, the billionaires. That's what's happening here. They're torturing children and babies. You can't reform this. Children trapped in Texas immigration facility recount nightmares, inedible food, no school. A photo of Liam Coneo Ramos, a scared 5-year-old, drew attention to a detention center in Dilley, Texas. Advocates say his experience reflects what hundreds of children have endured out of public view. Families describe sleeping in crowded dorm-style rooms with little privacy and filthy shared bathrooms. Outdoor areas are largely concrete and tightly supervised, parents say, and there are few toys or activities to occupy children indoors. Quote, "It is a prison where we are keeping children as young as 1 year old," said Elora Mukherjee, a professor at Columbia Law School and director of its Immigrants' Rights Clinic, who has represented several detained families. Quote, "We're keeping children there who are currently breastfeeding. It's unconscionable. Food is a recurring source of distress. Court filings describe meals that are greasy, heavily seasoned, or inappropriate for preschoolers and infants. Several parents said they found worms or mold. Some children survive largely on crackers and juice. One mother said she resorted to sucking pasta sauce off noodles for her child, hoping he would eat." Eric Lee, an immigration attorney who has represented families at Dilley, described a child suffering from appendicitis who collapsed in pain after having been denied meaningful medical attention. The child passed out in a hallway, vomiting and writhing, Lee said, only to be offered Tylenol. The psychological toll can be just as severe. During a recent visit, Lee said, a 5-year-old girl described a recurring nightmare. A large animal chases her, but she can't outrun it because she's trapped in a cage. She and her siblings wake up crying for their mom every night because they're worried they're going to get separated from her, Lee said. They're literally torturing children and babies. That's what's happening. You need to abolish ICE. There's no way around it. They need to be eliminated. They were created in fucking 2003, okay? The idea that they're necessary, they're not. They're now the secret police. They're now the Gestapo. Look at how they're treating babies. Babies. By the way, there's a massive class action lawsuit here just waiting to happen. Massive. Because you can't torture people like this. They have human rights, okay? How about this one? Toddler was returned to ICE custody and denied medication after hospitalization, lawsuit says. So this precious little girl had 104 fever. She was taken to the hospital. She was treated for all sorts of stuff. COVID, the flu, RSV, all sorts of stuff. They sent her back with medicine. The ICE Gestapo thugs did not give her the medicine. She almost fucking died. Toddler almost died. They didn't even tell the parents. When they took her to the hospital with her 104 fever, they didn't even tell the parents the dad wasn't allowed to come. The ICE Gestapo thugs went. They were given the medicine, and they didn't give her the medicine. Mass trials. These people need to go to prison. Miller is still running 10 a.m. conference calls 6 days a week to issue orders and demand updates on deportations, new ICE officer deployments, and prosecutions. ICE field commanders have not been waived off the ambitious arrest quotas he set last May. So understand, while Trump came out and did this whole show, this whole theater about how I'm getting rid of Bovino, I'm sending in Hamhead Homan. Homan says we're going to remove 700 of the ICE Gestapo thugs. Meanwhile, there were 3,000 there originally. The people on the ground in Minnesota are saying literally nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. It's still an illegal occupying army. They're still harassing people. They're still separating people. They're still rounding up innocents. They're still ignoring that they need warrants and acting with impunity. And Stephen Miller is still running these phone calls where he yells at the ICE Gestapo thugs and says, what are you doing? Arrest more people. What's the problem with you? What's wrong with you? And this all is fucking Chuck Schumer is sitting there trying to negotiate, hey, you got to get rid of the quotas. Does it sound like they're going to get rid of the fucking quotas, Chuck? Does it sound like that? The only way around this is to defund them. You can't, there is no like, we're demanding that you actually follow the Constitution with the warrants. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. You have to defund them. You have to reduce the funding. There's no way around it, Chuck. All the other things you negotiate away, they could just fucking ignore because they've done it before and they'll do it again. You can't make a deal with these people. They're full of shit. They're fucking liars, okay? That even when the courts step in and say, you guys got to follow this, they've blown off countless court orders. There's no guarantees. You have to defund them. You have to defund them. They're still deporting veterans. Newsweek says military veteran deported to Jamaica after 50 years in the U.S. Military veteran, fought for this country, here for 50 years. They deported him. What are people going to learn from this? You're never really truly American. So why should I serve them for any reason whatsoever, right? This is literally a nation of immigrants. And now they're saying, fuck all of the immigrants. So you're breeding a society that rightly is going to look at you and go, all right, well, fuck you then, right? Nobody's going to want to pay their taxes. Nobody's going to want to sign up for the military. It is the literal destruction of the country from within. You're making people hate this country, rightly so. Rightly so. Dropside News says, the whereabouts and health status of Palestinian resident of Paterson, New Jersey, Lequa Cordia, remains unconfirmed as of Sunday evening, her family and legal team say, following her emergency hospitalization on Friday. Cordia, on February 6, reportedly suffered a medical emergency, identified by a formerly detained individual as a fall resulting in a head injury and seizure at the Prairie Land Detention Center in Texas. Her legal team contacted 16 hospitals in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but none confirmed she was a patient. While ICE officials confirmed to her attorneys on Saturday morning that she was hospitalized, they did not disclose the facility's name or her current condition. Cordia has been in ICE custody for nearly a year, since March 13th, 2025, when she was detained during a routine immigration check-in. Advocates and legal filings strongly suggest she was targeted by the Trump administration for her pro-Palestinian activism, specifically her participation in the 2024 Columbia University protests. Despite an immigration judge twice ordering her release on bond, ICE has utilized automatic stays to keep her detained. Yet again, blowing off court orders to keep this woman detained. And what was her crime? Being pro-Palestine. What was her crime? Being anti-genocide and protesting using her constitutional rights. There is a special place in hell for these Trump regime thugs. There's a special place in hell. They've destroyed the Constitution. They've destroyed the First Amendment. They've destroyed free speech. And by the way, where the fuck are all the free speech warriors who said our number one issue is free speech and free protest and the First Amendment? Where are you now? Where's Dave Rubin? Where's Ben Shapiro? Where's fucking Sargon of Akkad? Where's their 17-hour screeds about how Trump is destroying the Constitution, ripping it up and shitting on it and lighting it on fire, all to protect Benjamin Netanyahu and the genocidal Israeli apartheid state? Where are you? You're nowhere to be found, right? You're nowhere to be found. In fact, you are fine with this. Because as long as the anti-free speech crusade targets your political enemies, you're cool with it. You're cool with it. You just are. Just be honest. Just say that part. ICE forces women detainees to wear diapers and compares them to goats locked in a cage. What? So let me show you this video here. Take a look.
We're disguising the identity of a former worker here at the ICE detention facility on the 6th floor of this federal building in Baltimore because they signed that non-disclosure agreement before starting work here, which means they could face legal retaliation for talking about it.
People laying on the floor, head to toe. That reminded me of the pictures that I saw in elementary school of how they brought the slaves from Africa.
For months, this person had access to what our cameras are not allowed to see.
Miren cómo nos tienen aquí. Miren cómo migración nos tienen.
The inside of the same Baltimore ICE detention center showed in this viral video.
Nos tienen en un depósito aquí en Baltimore.
The former worker showed WUSA 9 documentation proving they were employed there.
It was probably day 1 or day 2 that I saw the abuse.
What did you see?
I saw people laying in feces, people throwing up, people laying in urine.
At the time, an ICE spokesperson blamed the overcrowding on widespread flight cancellations and severe weather conditions that made it nearly impossible for ICE to safely transfer detainees to long-term detention facilities. In a new statement this week to WUSA 9, ICE went further, adding flatly, overcrowding does not happen. Did you witness overcrowding that was worse than what we saw in that video?
Yes. Yes, I did.
But this former worker provided WUSA 9 with what they claim are internal headcount sheets from December, showing conditions worse than in that viral video. 47, 50, and 56 detainees in that same cell, more than the worker counted in the video itself, and as many as 50 detainees in an even smaller cell. A federal class action lawsuit filed last May alleges conditions similar to what this former worker described to us and seen in the video. And when Maryland Congresswoman April McClain Delaney toured the facility last Friday, she said she was disturbed by what she saw.
It is just a horrific thing for us as a country.
This former worker told us on one occasion they showed up to find a detainee strapped in a restraint chair.
And when I asked the guard why was he in the restraint chair, his reply to me was that the mother kept making noise all night.
In its statement, ICE told WUSA 9 restraints are only used if a detainee poses a danger to themselves or others, never for disciplinary reasons, and not for extended periods. Staff are trained in their proper use, and all instances are monitored. The spokesperson also said ICE is committed to the safety, health, and dignity of all individuals in custody. But this former worker told us he regularly saw detainees lying in filth, and treatment of women's sanitary needs was especially disturbing.
We didn't always have sanitary stuff for them if they were having their cycle.
What was the solution there?
They were given diapers.
ICE told WUSA 9 appropriate hygiene supplies, including sanitary products, for female detainees are provided, and that all staff and contractors treat detainees with respect and dignity. But the former worker showed us these screenshots of a group text message in which a coworker complains about the smell inside the facility. Someone messages back, "Smells like an animal house at the zoo." A third person seems to joke, "Goats?"
And that's how I've seen some of the officers treat them and talk to them out of the Baltimore office like they were animals in a cage at the zoo. I'm for the deportation of illegal immigrants in this country, especially those that commit crimes. I've said it when I got hired. I said it in the interview. I knew who I was working for when I took this job. I had no problems with doing my job. I just have problems with the abuse and the treatment of the detainees on that floor.
When you are shocking the conscience of somebody who signed up to work for ICE, can you imagine the depravity? Can you imagine? From the New York Times, as FBI agent prepared to document blood spatter and bullet holes in Renee Good's SUV, they received orders to stop from senior officials, including Kash Patel. So the cover-up in the murder of Renee Nicole Good is official. It's from the top down. It's from the FBI. They are interfering with a state and local investigation into a murder that we have on camera from like 6 different angles. There's no reforming the Trump regime. There is no reforming it. And then we also have this. New, working as a federal prosecutor used to be one of the most apolitical positions in government. Now when you apply for one of the many vacant positions for those posts at the DOJ, you're required to weigh in on Trump's policies. Quote, how would you help advance the president's executive orders and policy priorities in this role? Read one of the queries on an application for a job in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota. Identify 1 or 2 relevant executive orders or policy initiatives that are significant to you and explain how you would help implement them if hired. They're doing Trump loyalty tests for positions which are explicitly supposed to be apolitical and explicitly supposed to be about the law. Just about the law. And this is where we get a situation where Kash Patel intervenes and says, we're not going to arrest the person. We're not going to even do an investigation into a murder we just saw with our own 2 eyes from multiple different angles. So people need to wake up. People need to wake up. This is a rogue regime. ICE and the CBP completely ignore court rulings. They've arrested people with tattoos and lied and said it means they're in a gang, even if the shit just says mom and dad. They sent people to concentration camps. They arrested multiple veterans from all over the place. Right now, they're holding 70,000 people in ICE detention. There are 70,000, including thousands of children. Thousands of them. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a regime and an agency that allegedly lynched a guy. They've deported 4-year-old American citizens. You need to understand what we're dealing with here. This is out in the open, rank fascism. That's what it is. That's what it is. And they're not going to stop with the mass kidnappings and abductions and human traffickings until we fucking make them. Until we make them. People have every right to defend themselves. People have every right to organize against this. And all the ICE observers are heroes. And they're doing amazing work. And I think, this is something that needs to grow. And this is something that needs to become bigger because given the extent of the depravity, it's all systems go. We need to pull out all the stops to prevent this. All right, guys, that's the show. I love you all very much, man. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. You can also support the show on Patreon and support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. Those links are below. And go sub to Corin's World so you can see the live Kyle and Corin episodes that drop every Monday night. We'll be live tonight, y'all. All right, I love you all, and I'll see you there. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.